Hello and welcome everybody. So my name's Jace. I am the marketing community lead or marketing community department at Exilis Games, creators of Moonfrost. And I'm really excited to introduce this kind of new series we're doing. So it's going to be called The Road to Early Access. And what it's going to be doing is essentially showcasing what Moonfrost is doing behind the scenes from going from closed alpha to early access, which is releasing in spring this year. So, without further ado, I think we'll jump almost straight into it. But before we do, can you please let me know if the sound is okay for the stream, if you can hear the music in the background, and my voice is clear? Because I would hate to kind of jump into it and you not even hear what I'm saying. So that'll be absolutely perfect. We're also simultaneously streaming on most of the major platforms. So you can feel free to kind of comment. I can interact it. It's just myself. So as a small indie team, we kind of have to wear multiple hats. So please bear with me. I'm not a full-time streamer, but I'm really, really excited to kind of showcase what we're doing. So welcome everybody, and I really appreciate your time. I think we're almost at 100 people viewing already, which is absolutely crazy. Just for showcasing some new early access features for Moonfrost. If you have any questions throughout, please feel free to drop them in the chat channel. What I'm going to be doing is we'll do about 45 minutes kind of talking about the new features and showcasing fishing, which is one of the most highly anticipated features for Moonfrost. And I'm also going to be highlighting cooking, which is another feature coming for early access, it adds a real nice gameplay depth to this variety and genre of game. And we're also going to be touching upon progression and quality of life improvements, which have come directly from your feedback, the people that have played the game. If you haven't played the game yet, you will be able to play in early access. So we will be lifting the gates there. So I'm really, really excited, really. So yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat and I will get to them as we go out through the stream. It's mega casual. There is no set script. We will literally just be showcasing the features, talking about them, fielding questions. And then after kind of talking about and showing the new features and essentially what the development stage is for Moonfrost right now, we'll probably just go into some house hunters. So I plan on just building, showing build mode. If you haven't experienced that before, it's super fun. Awesome. So without further ado, thank you very much. Bad trip. I am growing my mustache back again. But yeah, we'll jump straight into it. So let's start off with the most highly anticipated feature for Moonfrost, which is undoubtedly fishing. We've asked a lot of community polls and questions of what features you want. And there's some we need to kind of do in a certain order, but fishing was just kept coming up and we've always wanted to put it in the game. So what we've done is we've taken two designs, and what I'm going to be showing you today is the pure mechanics of fishing. This is not the full polished version that people will play in early access. It is literally the two mechanics we're thinking of implementing for Moonfrost, and we'd want your general opinion on them. Which one do you prefer? What do you like? What do you dislike? Do you like elements of each of them? So then we can combine all of this into some really solid feedback. So in early access, when everyone gets to play fishing, hopefully you really, really enjoy it. And we're going to be looking at getting fishing to the people in our closed alpha releases early. So when we have a playable kind of player build, you'll actually be playing and playtesting fishing before the early access release. So what I'll do first is I'm going to show you a video first. This is of one of the features or mechanics of fishing, and I can talk through that as much as you'd like, so you can please ask questions. And then what I'll do is I'll play the other version of fishing, so you actually get to see kind of both types. And then we'll move on to the next feature, because there's a lot to get into with this. So yeah, we'll jump straight in. Awesome. So I'll jump onto this one first. This is type A for fishing. So this is probably more kind of what you've seen in previous esque life farm sim games. So essentially, what you'd be doing is casting out your line and then trying to land the fish or land the bait and the lure in a certain area. What you can see on the screen, I'll keep kind of playing it in a continuous loop so we can talk through it. Is the small kind of shadows would be different types of fish, and you're going to try and almost aim to get it into that area to then attract those fish. And what we're going to be doing is making it quite hard for certain types of fish. So we intend to have kind of three different categories of fish, which to keep it simple, we've called it small, medium, and large. And then we're going to have different kind of types of fish in those categories. So you might find some like ultra rare versions of like large fish, which could be anything. So it could be cod, salmon, pufferfish. But right now for early access, we're just focusing on the categories of fish, if that makes sense, being small, medium, and large, and them having their own unique thing, as in like art and obviously VFX and sound effects. Because right now it's just purely the mechanic. With this mechanic, you cast obviously how far and where you want the kind of lure to land in the water. And then this is to do with kind of click and hold. So with the big green and red circle, this is not what it'll look like. This is just showing the mechanics of fishing. So the big green and red circle, you're essentially holding and letting go. So keep reeling would be holding down the mouse button, letting go would obviously let out the line, so give it some slack. And you're kind of almost like fighting that fish, trying to towards land the fish, which is essentially collecting the fish at the end. So that's how this method would work, which is mechanic one. What I'll do now is I'll actually play mechanic two, and then you can kind of then we can go into like the like nitty gritty details, which is like other categories of fish, fishing rods, other loot that happens when you're fishing in Moonfrost, because there's some really cool stuff which you won't just be pulling up fish, just like real life, and then also like how bait is going to be implemented in Moonfrost. So it should be fun, and yeah, thank you, Nurki. So it's not just the standard fishing. We're actually trying to give you two alternatives of how you'd like to play fishing in Moonfrost. And both have their own kind of unique spins on the genre. So hopefully you like them, but we'd really want to find out which one you like more. Before jumping into the next one, I'll just answer another one of the questions that popped up. So sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. Please tell me in Discord if I do. I'd love to advance it properly. But Sabo Ka, I've seen many mentions about blueprints. So what will they be in the future? Do you have any plans to give us opportunity to share blueprints, aka NFTs, or create our own and then selling them? So we've just updated our website. I don't know if you're aware. It's nothing too fancy. Like as I said, we're an indie team, so we kind of focus most of our resources on game development and trying to make the best game possible. But essentially on the website, there's an FAQ section which goes into detail about like blueprints, frost prints, which is NFT versions of blueprints in game, which kind of will help you understand just a little part of kind of economy design of Moonfrost. But you will be able to kind of like not straight away for early access, but peer-to-peer trading, peer-to-peer selling of in-game assets and the NFT versions. But yeah, great question. I can jump into that in a lot more detail. We are planning on releasing a roadmap and a white paper, which will give us this full information. So if you have any specifics on economy design and Web3 implementation, you can, of course, read that at any point. And I'd love to discuss that with you as well, because it's really, really important. But right now, I'm just going to probably focus it mainly on fishing and features, but great question. Awesome. Right, let's get into actually playing fishing. This is the second type of mechanic. So it's completely different. Like I said, bear in mind, this is just the mechanic. There is no polish, there is no sound effects, there is no visual effects. This is just the two different types of fishing mechanics we're looking at exploring to putting in Moonfrost. And the reason why we're showing this is to get direct feedback from players, from people that are interested who love this genre. We've currently got over 250 people watching this stream, which is incredible. Makes me a little nervous. Just because, like I said, I'm not a streamer, but I really appreciate everyone's time. So let's get straight into actually playing fishing. So in this version of fishing, it's slightly different. It's a similar start as you're trying to cast the line of the bait, the hook into the water to try and land near these different kind of pools of fish. So you can wander up to where there would be fish in the world, so lakes, streams, and it's going to be designated from like shadows and shaders, and like you may see some small fish, so you're like, oh, I can fish there. After that, and this time you're going to click and hold. With this one, it wouldn't take this long. Like you said, this is straight from a dev build. There is no polish, so I'm showing you like raw gameplay and dev from this. But you're holding down the click or holding down left click to cast how far you want it to go. When it lands in the water with this style, it's going to start like bobbing, and that's kind of indicating to the fish. something's there for their attention, which you will be able to attach bait in the future. Once you once a fish gets interested, it'll dip down like you saw then. And right now I'm fighting the fish, and that time it kind of broke away. Um, so because I didn't react fast enough, the fish is kind of just automatically gone. Like we've lost it, and you would obviously kind of lose some effects there. So maybe it's bait, maybe your line breaks, maybe you need to go and repair that. So that's all things we're looking in the future. But we'll try again because this mechanic is very different to the other one. So we really want to see like which one you prefer, why you prefer which mechanic of fishing, and then we can kind of really develop a polished feature to get it into players' hands. So yeah, so right, I'll try and actually catch a fish this time. So we're waiting for it to bob all the way under and a school of fish to come over if they're interested. Cool. Right, this time it's very different. This time I am spinning the mouse round in the center of the wheel, and I need to try and keep speed. Oh no, the line snapped. Sorry, I've got a second monitor, so I was looking over there. But in other words, this time, whilst the screen's up on pause, this isn't a click and hold. This is actually trying to match the green circle with the red circle, which is kind of like a reel on a fishing rod. And what we're trying to do here is keep speed with the fish, and each fish will be slightly different. Obviously, the rarer the fish quality, and if it's like a really big fish, which is super rare, this could be really hard, and you might be battling here for 20, 30 seconds, easing off, coming back on to try and land the fish. But we're going to give it a go again because I do need to catch a fish live. I have been practicing, but with the feature itself, it is hard. And one of the main things, we want it to almost be challenging when there is super rare, like kind of variants of different fish types, because that opens up so many awesome potential we can do with other features like cooking and like trading later on when we have that into the game. If you catch like the rarest of fish, right? We'll try again. So keeping the red dot and the green dot as close as you can together. I will look at the camera. Sorry, it's because it's on the second monitor, and I will struggle to kind of. This is hard. Speed up, speed up, speed up, speed up. Right, the line snapped again. We give it a go. This is not a good representation of me for making fishing easy, but we'll give it another go. So it's all fun. But thank you everyone for coming. Like this is huge. There's over 300 people now watching me attempt to fish in the first or the second variant of fishing in Moonfrost. So, like I said, if you're joining, this is a very work in progress feature. Most games will not even show you this stage of development, but we wanted to be transparent and open with you of what we're working on, because I'm pumped for fishing, and so is most of the community. And I've just landed my first fish. As you can see, it popped up on the left-hand side. I don't know if you saw. It just essentially said small fish. And that is like one of the categories you're going to be seeing in early access, like we said, straight from the off, but we're going to be adding new ones over and over again. So yeah, so that is fishing in Moonfrost. And what we're trying to do is with both types, when you're trying to catch the fish, we want to make it a little bit challenging when you're trying to get different types of fish in Moonfrost, but we also want it to make it a really, really fun gameplay feature because it's going to be one of the core ones of the game. We already have some gameplay features if you're aware, and if you're not aware of Moonfrost, we have like a fully built out system of like farming, build mode, which is very, very similar to The Sims, which I'll showcase a little bit later. But fishing is one that has been highly recommended, and I've been pushing this for a long time, being kind of the representation of the community to the development team. So I'm really, really excited. So what I'll do now is I will continue to fish a little bit. I probably won't catch much because I'm going to kind of almost like field some questions from you all as well. And then I'm going to start talking about what else is there with fishing. So essentially with fishing, like I said, there'll be 3 different categories of fish to start off with. We're going to be adding way more. And then you will get other loot from fishing, and you're also going to start to get other loot from other elements of the gameplay. So different resources will come from different things in early access compared to what it was like in Alpha Release 5 and prior Alpha releases. So one of those things, like I said, is fishing, and you will get things which aren't fish from fishing. I know that sounds really weird, but think of it as like real life. If like someone's like magnet fishing and what they're going to be gathering there. and also how that affects like gameplay and the economy of the game and getting like super rare items. So I suck at fishing, it seems. So it's going to be one of those. And with one of the things that we're trying to do with that is kind of lean more into the multiplayer element of the game and getting something super rare and super like valuable. So that's what we're really excited to showcase. Which that's where this other loot comes in and other types of stuff from fishing. We're also going to be looking at fishing rods. So like for early access, the first it's when it's released in spring, we're probably only going to have one fishing rod. But we're going to start to look into releasing more fishing rods with different kind of quality and rarity and like usability of that fishing rod. So maybe, for example, there's a variant of the fishing rod which is really good at getting like the big fish. So then you can obviously go and craft that, and then you're more likely to kind of land the bigger fish, which may be harder. And also doing like rarity of fish, and then maybe it's a different area. So these are all things we want to be adding over time. But right now we're going to be adding the main core mechanic of fishing, and then just one fishing rod. This also opens up opportunities for us to kind of develop this feature more and like add bait. So we already have insects in Moonfrost. Right now we aren't making them like usable. They're more kind of just for atmosphere, but there is bees like wandering around. There is dragonflies wandering around. There is moths at night. So we're looking at like maybe we can use certain types of bait, or maybe you can go and purchase it from Walter's shop or store to increase certain chances of certain fish. So it really opens the door of like, it may just seem fishing is really simple, but really it's not. Like this could be like a min max's like absolute dream of trying to catch and land like the best and biggest and rarest fish. So we're really excited to get this out. I'm just going to field some questions first because that's mainly fishing, and that's about 15 minutes in. So we're right on track with hopefully telling you all of the latest information, news, and alpha about Moonfrost and on the road to early access. So I'm just going to take a little time to field some questions. Sweet. So starting at the top, Vlad, you've said, will there be fishing rods as a separate item? For example, fishing rod shop, different rarities. Yeah, exactly that. So when early access starts, probably not. We're probably going to have one fishing rod, and there will be maybe bait. I can't 100% be sure they're going to be bait in place then, but that's the idea, is to get different rarity of fishing rods, equipment, and also kind of bait to get maximum kind of buff, I guess would be the best word, for certain types of fish. So it'll be easier to catch and harder to catch. So Baka, you've said, will fishing integrated into Farm Royale? So Farm Royale is like our, like obviously you know what it is, but just in case people are watching for the first time, it's our like almost PvP farming mode where you're competing against other people. Fishing probably won't be added to Farm Royale straight away, but what we can do is look at multiplayer mini games. So fishing, there may be a multiplayer mini game. Imagine like everyone is around one big lake, and there is like a super rare fish in that lake, and you're all kind of battling to try and get this fish. That could be super fun. But that isn't going to be day one early access. I can't overpromise. The rest of the development team probably won't be too happy if I start promising things like that. But we will be looking at exploring other live service mini games like Farm Royale, but fishing may could be one of them. There is other options we're speaking about with the tools we've already got in the game and making some really fun mini games. But what we're really focusing on at the moment is with early access, it's going to be completely different to what you've experienced if you've played Moonfrost in its closed alpha release state. You're going to be experiencing a game that is in early access, and we're trying our hardest to make sure we're in a live service position. And what that means is the game will be playable and it will be live, and we intend not to wipe people's data. We can't 100% say that with the stage of development we're in right now, but we are trying to get to the point where there's no more data wipes. So like your homesteads don't get wiped. Everything you build, everything you collect into the game does not get wiped. That's what we're really pushing towards. And as soon as we're there, and I can confirm that, I will let everyone know, because that's one of the biggest things I'm looking forward to, is actually playing this game continuously as we develop it with you, the players in the community, getting your feedback on features and showcasing them really early. So yeah, awesome. Right. That's that's pretty it for fishing. If you want me to fish more, I can attempt. If not, I'm gonna run down into the homestead. And I'm going to talk about a new feature just briefly after looking at if there's any more questions because it's really hard to stream. So hats off to everyone who's a streamer trying to do 5 things at once. Super challenging. Massive respect to you all. Niriki, you say I already like the other fishing way better. It's fun with the way to let it go and reel it in. Feels more real and a bit more fun. Yeah, that's really cool feedback. That's what we're asking for from this stream is essentially which one do you prefer? What elements do you like of each? And then we can kind of maybe there's a third option in between those two. We can combine both into like a really awesome fishing game mode. Um, cool. I'll do one more question, then I'll get back to kind of sharing all the info. So, Karaoke, does it make sense to change the fishing location to catch something bigger and more rare? So yeah, so for early access, we're looking at kind of having different fishing spots. I can't say 100% we're going to have them, but each fishing spot may give you a chance of catching different types of fish. So, for example, on your homestead, um, I can run there, obviously, because if you haven't played before, there is a small pond on your homestead. This one over here. So, for example, this pond may have a certain type of fish or certain types of fish within it. You may need to go to the village eventually and kind of fish in the main river there. And that may drop a different type of fish or a different chance of getting that fish. So, what we're really trying to lean towards is more social gameplay with other players and having the option to get people onto your farm. This won't be in early access day one release, and it's something we're looking towards, but we are working on like loading optimization, map chunking, which if you know none of these things, like I don't know what they mean until the engineers told me. But essentially it means it's going to be a better experience loading in and out of maps to play with other players. So we are actively working on improving that as well for early access. Awesome. Right, let's talk about two new well, it's one new gameplay feature, and then it is also kind of like I said with how Moonfrost is going to be go from closed alpha release straight into early access. So I suppose let's start with that. So the progression in Moonfrost, I can give you like essentially the high level overview. But to level up in game, you need to increase your XP and then level up, and then that unlocks better equipment, better tools, more decorations, more utility, essentially, more fishing types. In other words, the more you play, the more you kind of learn about the game and get exposed to new gameplay features. So it's very fundamental to know how to level up in early access, and it's all to do with XP. So on the top left-hand screen, you can, or the top left of this screen up here, you can see I am level 13 and I have 41 out of 49 XP. Previously, we weren't too descriptive of how you actually get XP, and that's purely because of the closed alpha releases we were doing and the cadence. But the community worked out, so thank you for helping each other. But there is two main ways to get XP in Moonfrost. One is to complete your current task. So right now it says talk to Walter. So if I talk to Walter, I would go and get XP. Nice and easy. So just follow the kind of task system, and it kind of will level you up as you play along, unlocking new features. The second one, which is really unique with Moonfrost, because we're such a collection-centric game, we're going to be focusing XP on that element as well. So in Moonfrost, there's things which, rightly so, someone asked earlier, called blueprints. Essentially, a blueprint is anything in the game world you can craft, build, cook, a recipe, similar things like this. So I'll show you one just for an example. When you're using this table over here, which is a decorations workbench, we've implemented a new way to make you understand easier as players and as community members, where do I get XP from? How do I level up in game? When you're leveling up in game, you're going to unlock new blueprints, which you can then craft. We call it blueprint activation. So when you actually craft something for the first time, it's going to give you a set amount of XP. So this terracotta ceramic pot will give you 5 XP if you craft it for the very first time. And it will also tell you how long it takes to craft, what resources you need. And this is one of the quality of life improvements which directly came from you, which we're calling crafting 2.0. which is really, really super simple. There will be additional features to crafting 2.0, but this is probably what you're going to get for early access. This just allows us to essentially focus on other elements that we need to do to make sure we're improving different elements of the gameplay. So crafting, this is kind of a light version of crafting 2.0, but it makes it super simple. You can know what XP you need to level up in game, and the two ways to get XP is by completing tasks and blueprint activation, which is when you build or craft an item which is from a blueprint, which is essentially these things. So yeah, that is one of the first improvements, is kind of this kind of, or part of the progression is the user interface and user experience for how you craft things. So it should be a lot easier, hopefully. Yeah, love crafting 2.0, that's brilliant. Too bright for now, looking good, but strange to Moonfrost design. If it's too bright, yeah, this may change. This is all work in progress. So I probably should have specified that right at the beginning before there was almost 500 people watching. This is all work in progress. This is not the final version of the game. This is literally just kind of us building with you in public. Most games won't do that, but we want to show you it from behind the scenes, so then you're more aware, like, oh, this is why this feature might take a long time. Like, it's super hard. Yeah, 1 billion craft coin. This is a dev account. So this is my dev account, which in other words has a load of dev rights. So I can have an infinite amount of resources, which is fantastic for build mode, but I don't submit any, don't worry, to house hunters. Awesome. Yeah, so that is kind of an overview of crafting 2.0. What I'll also show you is, this is across the entirety of all the main craft sites in Moonfrost. So for example, now you can see the tool workbench has very, very similar. So it tells you what you need. These won't craft XP as tools, but it will tell you how long it takes, what resources you need. One of the big updates coming to Moonfrost for early access is how you actually gather resources. So right now, if you use a tool, for example, I can probably craft one and I can just show you in real time. It'd be a lot easier. So let's use a stone pickaxe. It insta-crafts, which is fantastic. What used to work, or how it used to work, was if you have the tool, you can use that tool on a resource type. So for example, if you have a pickaxe, you can use it on stone, you could use it on silver ore, gold ore, or any of the ores in game. But now we've slightly changed that to kind of give you more kind of progression in the game, which I think is really, really fun. So if I tried to use a stone pickaxe on a silver vein, right now there's no VFX or there's no sound effects, or as in like visual input, but I will be here forever and this thing will not break. Because what we've done now is, with the progression, if you want silver to kind of harvest silver ore from a silver vein, you need the one tool below that. So how it's going to work is, if I start off on a silver pickaxe, which is essentially resources you can pick up off the floor, being stone and birchwood, I will then need to go and harvest or mine from the designated kind of vein. So this, I can now harvest stone with a stone pickaxe. And whilst I'm harvesting stone, there is a chance, which you just saw then, of getting copper ore. So on the left-hand side over here. So it means it kind of exposes that next tier. So then that's how you get copper ore. Then you can craft the kind of copper pickaxe, and then the silver, and then the gold. So this really helps with our kind of progression system and unlocking new areas which have different resources, which, in other words, the more you play, the more you kind of unlock, and the better your gameplay is going to be. So that's one of the big things we're kind of adding for progression. Awesome. So what else have I got on my notes? The next thing would be, yeah, so one thing to note is with the tools, so like we said, we have the stone, the copper, the silver, the gold. We do plan on releasing other tool types or other variations of those tool types, but all of them will give you the higher the tool quality, the more durable it is, the more hit points it does or damage it does to that said resource. And there also is going to be a new statistic going to be implemented for early access. I don't want to tell you what that is yet, but it is something really, really cool, which links into the entire design of Moonfrost, and like I said, about other loot. So in other words, leveling these tools will help you, and it will just be a lot better experience for a player. So I really, really recommend leaning into that when early access happens. Is in spring. Crafting 2.0. Cool. Let's talk about two more things, and then I'm going to start like building. We've got half an hour. We've gone through half an hour, so thank you so much. I think we're over like 500 people viewing now, which is absolutely crazy. Yeah, one of the things we're looking into is, like I said, Moonfrost is very, very collection centric. Like we really, really want you to understand why it's collection centric as well, which hopefully you're going to understand why that is when you actually first play early access for the first time. But I'll give you a little sneak into how we're looking at making it more collection centric in the game. Like I said, all these features are really, really rough around the edges. They are just the mechanics, and we're going to be polishing them up to make sure they're like really good or at a good standard before going into early access. But this is something called, we've labeled it at the moment, called the Frost Scan, which is essentially like a collection album. And as you explore, adventure, farm, fish, cook, craft, later on down the line, fight, romance, all of those features, livestock, which we've got planned, but they're not going to be in early access day one, you're going to start to unlock certain things. So this is going to be a collection album of everything almost that you've kind of collected in Moonfrost. And this is where it gets really interesting. So the more you collect and the more collections you fill out, you get more rewards in the game. So, for example, if you've got all of the golden vegetables currently, you'll get something from getting all of those golden vegetables. The same with the types of tools, and it will also prompt you. And this is going to get a lot more work done to it. But just to give you some like visibility on the collection album is going to be implemented in early access in the basic version. When essentially you've collected something, you're going to get some rewards. The rewards will vary on what you've kind of collected. If it's a big collection, it may be something small. If it's a large collection or a rare collection, it could be something else. So, for example, that one was to do with craft coin. So we're implementing new ways and new sources for craft coin. So there isn't just the daily tasks and then that's it. Or you can use the refined workbench. You can play the game, you can collect through the game, and you can get exposed to new rewards. And super excited. But that's essentially one of the things which is still in development that is not finished by any means. But it's really, really exciting to be able to showcase that because we want more long-term goals for players, which makes it more fun. So like you actually have more things to kind of strive towards. And with early access, I can't give everything away, even though I've probably told you too much already. But one of those is like the story of Moonfrost. Like we label everybody as ourselves as frost hunters, and being able to showcase what this means is super important. So you will understand like what is a frost hunter, what is your role in the world of Moonfrost. We've got a lovely community that kind of highlights what they love about the game, and they love the kind of character humor, and especially like Ash is one of my favorite characters. They're awesome. But we're going to be leaning into what is a frost hunter, what's your role in Moonfrost, what are you doing in this world, and actually making a really positive impact as you progress through the game, level up your homestead, level up as a player, unlock new recipes, and lock loads of new gameplay. It's going to be awesome. I'm really, really excited. Cool. Collection album, tick. We've talked a bit about loot and how that's kind of almost changing in the progression of Moonfrost. We've talked about XP and leveling and tools, getting certain elements and items, which is all awesome stuff. The next thing I want to talk about is a new gameplay feature. So we shared this very, very, very early. It's not even in the game, so I can't even show you in the game. So I'm just going to let's go and vibe over by the fish, and I can talk to you about this new gameplay feature. I can't showcase it because it's not built yet, but it will be ready for early access in spring. So I wanted to discuss it with you just to be fully transparent, essentially. So the next gameplay feature, which I'm going to talk about, is cooking. So we put out a poll to the community and to our players saying, like, what features are you most looking forward to next? And I believe I need to double check. Don't fact check me if you're part of the community. Feel free to. It's in the work in progress channel. But we essentially said, what features are you most looking forward to? And some of the top ones were pets, livestock animals, romancing characters, combat, and cooking. And we've decided to kind of go with cooking for a few different reasons. Number one is it kind of makes sense with the rest of what we've got in the game. So you've got your crops, you've got fishing. It'll be great to put those together so you can do something with those outside from just sell them, which is where cooking comes in. And this opens up a really, really cool new mechanic for Moonfrost, which if you've played games like Zelda Breath of the Wild, you'd be probably similar with this approach of discoverability. So for Moonfrost, and other games like do this really well as well. I think Pixels does it, which is awesome. But essentially, say you have like three ingredients. Say you've got like a normal carrot you've harvested, you've got a small fish that you've caught, and some blueberries. When you're using the cooking station in Moonfrost, there's going to be different types of processing for all of that food slash ingredients. So maybe you want to steam it, maybe you want to chop it, maybe you want to roast it, and then every single ingredient would also be a new, like, it may form a new recipe. So we're not going to tell you like this is how you make a carrot and coriander and fish soup. It'll be like you need to go and find out how to make a carrot and coriander fish soup. So it's really leaning into like discoverability of players and working together as a community to uncover these secrets of kind of where cooking leads, which we're super excited. We'll obviously give you some kind of guidance to actually get you discovering them and using the new gameplay feature, but it's super exciting to offer something which is really community driven. Like if you find out how to make like a really rare soup, say like you've got a really, really rare fish, you've got like golden turnip, golden potato, golden, and then you put it all together and it'll make something completely new, and it may give you a buff in something else that you're doing. You may not want to tell people, but we think the community would be like, no, we can all benefit from this, with like community events and like activations which are building out, because that's one of the things we're most looking forward to, is building out social gameplay within Moonfrost. We can't promise everything for early access day one. Like early access means like we're finally in a position where we're hopefully not wiping data. Like I said, I can't promise that, and I need to stipulate that. But it means we're getting to the stage where we can start to build openly. The game is live. You're enjoying the gameplay. You're getting new features, which we've discussed. And then we can add kind of this like lore of Moonfrost into the game on early access. So yeah, if that makes sense, I'm super excited about it, and I know the team are as well. It's been a long development cycle for us, but we're almost at the stage to get this game live and get you playing it and enjoying it. So I'm just gonna take one sip of water. Awesome. So that's kind of a high level of cooking. If you want more information on cooking, please jump into Discord, look in the work in progress channel, and we've literally put the design document in screenshots in there. So you can go through and understand how the cookbook works, how the crafting works, how the discoverability works. It's all in there. Please take a read. If you want any questions, fire them in the chat and I can get to them as well. Awesome. So that's the main kind of fishing and features. So just to cover those again. So we've got two different fishing mechanics. We're looking at exploring, and we're looking at trying to make the best version of that for you. I can cover those again because I'd really, really like your input before I start building. So I've got 20 minutes now. If you've got any questions, if not, I'm literally just going to play the game. I'm going to enjoy the game and kind of just chill with you. But I'm just going to cover the fishing first. So if you're listening, please let me know in the comments which fishing style you prefer. And what I'll do is I'll show you both again, and then you can decide which one you like most. So this is fishing option 1, like we said before, which is slightly different. Casting the line out. And then obviously this one is more kind of like click and hold, and you're kind of almost trying to land that fish coming in. Awesome. We'll watch that one more time. So this is fishing option number 1, and we'd love to understand why you prefer each one of them. Like this is very, very early work in progress. It's going to have a lot more polish. when you're actually going to play the game, but we just love to know what you're thinking at this time. So this is fishing option number 1. Awesome. And then fishing option number 2. Let's run up here. I can't get through. So don't worry too much about like how long I'm holding it down. It's more just what style of the fishing mechanic do you think you would prefer most? And then we can look at kind of getting that version polished first, or putting most of the dev time into that, so then you can play it sooner. So the intent is still to get alpha release 5 players fishing, and you can unlock fishing via getting to task 160 in the build, which is the end of the kind of main story tasks for alpha release number 5. So right now I'm using this. I'm going around the circle, and I actually caught one. That was really good, because the first time I didn't. So that's the 2 different types of fishing. And I would love to know in the comments if it'd be really, really useful for the team to understand which one you prefer, fishing option number 1 or fishing option number 2. And then we can kind of look to showcase those more. Cool. If there's any questions, please let me know. I will look to the chat now. What role will fish play in the game? Will it be used as food to restore energy, or will it be part of the competitive aspect where players try to catch the biggest fish? A little bit of both. Yeah, so Rick's jumped in. Thank you, Rick. He's one of the co-founders of the studio. He's come in to help with a couple of the questions. But no, you'll be able to sell them. You'll be collecting them. They'll be used for ingredients. Like I said, we're not going to have a mini game mode yet from day 1 early access of fishing, where you're competing directly with players. But it's definitely something we can look into. If we put the game in early access and everyone is fishing, like everyone is just fishing, then maybe we should focus more dev time on kind of introducing a new fishing feature. So we want to build this game with you, and that's one of the big things like I personally have been pushing, but also the rest of the game development team is we are all Moonfrost and we're building this game together. The developers may actually build it, but a lot of these ideas come from you. So actually the fishing design, we thought about as a team, or both mechanics as a team, and we actually fielded it to you. It was almost like 6 months ago where we said like, hey, this is what we're thinking. And the community got around it, and it was crazy. Like the amount of announcements and like reactions and input into fishing was awesome. But someone made like a full game design for fishing, and that person is Tim. He's one of the community helpers, which is a group of voluntary kind of like just super people essentially. And that is what's got us here today in these 2 different types of fishing designs, alongside the game developers like coming and building it, is direct player feedback, which is something we really want to lean into, because you're the ones going to be playing this game hopefully and enjoy this game. So or like ClickVal says, love this game. So thank you very much. We really do appreciate that. Cool. I'm going to jump into some questions, and then like I said, I'm going to start building. So Tesseri said, just want to know, are the blueprints like golden toilet will be wiped? Yeah, so we just released the golden toilet, which was one of the blueprints for our House Hunters event. And yes, that will be wiped. So the only one that won't be kind of data wiped in between Alpha Release 5 and Early Access will be the Fishing Gnome, which is unlocked at task 160. So obviously when the game is in early access, like you said, we're trying to get to the point where we don't wipe data, but we can't promise that yet. But that's what we're really aiming towards. After that, yes, then whatever you unlock should remain unlocked for you. So if you unlock or if you win the golden toilet seat, or there was the frog one, which is my favorite one, then you would keep that. But right now, no. Sadly, we're just kind of testing it to make sure kind of you enjoy it essentially, and then we can kind of get those very, very finite, low supply blueprints into the game and rewarding players directly who enjoy those things. So awesome. Will Conway, what if we have both fishing styles, but it changes according to the types of river? That's it's a potential, but the problem with doing both fishing styles means we're going to need to spend additional game development time on but polishing both features. So if the whole of the community, like all the players, would say, "I want both," like we'd have to have a serious discussion as a game development team and saying the community want both styles, but what do we sacrifice? So if you want both styles of fishing, we may not be able to get cooking in, which would then affect other things. So these are considerations that we here really have to kind of almost don't get in early. And that's why I wanted to showcase it and why the team wanted to showcase both. Like, this is not polished. Like, you're fully aware this is not what the final version of fishing will look like in Moonfrost. But hopefully it kind of shed lights on two different game designs or game mechanics for fishing. Cool, DG. It's the best Web3 game so far. Thanks. No, we really appreciate that. We've, like you said, we're in closed alpha at the moment, so early access will be super fun to see kind of what people think of our game. Vlad, you said, what do you think about how the house hunt event went? Did you vote for any houses too? I really like the creativity of the players and how everyone in the alpha version of the game, people were able to come up with something using what they had. No, yeah, no, 100%. I loved house hunters personally. I really, really like seeing what the community can do and the creativity level of players. It's honestly insane. When you're making stuff, well, that's also a no feature I'll talk about. When you're making something, like some players built, like one of them, someone built like a ship. I can't remember who I was speaking to. They are in Discord. They are a holder of the license, but they built a ship, and I was like, this is insane. Someone built like it almost looked like the Bridge of London. There's beautiful homesteads being designed, and it is incredible what you as a player and as a community member can build with the feature when it's still not fully finished. Like, we don't have roofs yet, but players are building like beautiful homes with roofs. It's absolutely awesome. So yes, I voted as a player. I don't use my dev account because obviously that has like 1 billion craft coins. But I really, really enjoy seeing what the community creates, and that's one of the things we wanted to do. Is like with this website update I mentioned earlier, there is a section called like fan creations, and we're going to be putting like some of the most voted ones on the website, and like that'd be awesome. I think personally, like showcasing what players and community members have done, fan art, in-game screenshots, like videos, tutorials, guides, streamers. We would love to support you like you support us. So yeah, in other words, answering your question, yes, I voted. Yes, I thought it was awesome. And I'm looking forward to early access. Garbage Can, that's an awesome name. I played a lot of all season. I'm excited to be included in the next testing phase. Awesome. I'm excited for you to play too. Scoozy, so honestly, why not just go beta or something instead of early access if you don't have all the core features? Great question. No, awesome. So we could go closed alpha into closed beta, into open beta, into early access when we have like all the gameplay features ready. But essentially, that's going to take a lot longer. Like at the moment, it's taken over 3 years to get to this point. And what we're going to be trying to do is put the game live. Like I said, the objective is to not wipe anything and build with the community, which allows us to do some really, really cool and exciting things when it comes to gameplay features, and economy design, and introducing things like the blueprints that we don't wipe, which are very finite, which means obviously it's like a very small controlled supply, which may lead to something in the future. So it's almost rewarding players and community members that have built with us a long time, and we wouldn't be able to do that if we kept wiping data and going through like almost like closed beta and making new gameplay features and then wiping it again. This way we can almost build openly with the community, let players play, which is really, really good, increase our player base. So we've got more house hunt entries, more people coming into the game. And overall, we believe it's the correct move to do and go into early access. So hopefully that answers your question. If not, ask it to me again, and then I can dive it in another way. Cool. Right. So one more small little feature. This may not look beautiful. I will pre-warn you now. But one of the big things we had from especially watching people like play the game and stream was it's so costly to make walls and a home in Moonfrost. So just like a normal home, we've made a new wall, which may not look beautiful, but it's essentially like a temporary wall. So you can build a home first, and and help with the progression of that. So that's just like something really, really tiny. But we wanted to add that in so people don't have to live in a tent anymore. Right, let's build a... How long have I got? 10 minutes. Please feel free to ask questions. If there's no questions, I'm just going to talk to you. I've got 10 minutes. I've allocated a full hour, and I would love to just chat with you both. If not, I'm just going to build stuff. And I enjoy the game we're building together. So cool. Garbage can. Your name is going to make me laugh every time I say it. Maybe a system that make us stop if we don't have enough resources. Yes. So there already is one. So at the top left-hand side of the screen, this bar here is stamina. So this will control what you do in the game. So if you're playing for 6-7 hours, this stamina is going to probably go down a lot sooner than that. So it'll force you to take a break. And then you'll be able to get resources and kind of other ways to speed that up, essentially. One of those is the Frost Hunter license. Like if you go to the pub in the village, that'll like increase your stamina faster. And there'll be other elements of kind of getting buffs essentially through the game. So cooking is one of them. I can't 100% say we're going to have the buffs in cooking on day one early access for certain items, but it's something we're looking at, like building towards. So yes. So Vlad, I really enjoy the developer diaries, and even the first stream was amazing. I hope you continue to do. Yeah. So the idea is like it's really, really hard, and like I love chatting to the community. I actually don't like streaming. I get really, really nervous. So thank you all for being really kind. But what we're trying to do now is between Alpha Release 5 and Early Access starting, there is a bit of time. So what I'm going to be trying to do is these 2-week streams, which is called the Road to Early Access. I'm going to be showcasing what the game looks like. I'm going to be highlighting new features inside the game, and also to do with like Web3, economy design, tokenomics, white paper, to almost get you fully up to date on how to play early access to the maximum benefit as a player and someone in this kind of ecosystem together. So that's the idea. Every month we'll do a monthly blog update. So that'll be like long form. This will also include this stream. And then also every 2 weeks, I want to get on a live stream with you. And I'll probably try and bring people of the team up. So maybe like Gina or Rick, the founders, maybe get like some of the engineers on, or the artists or designers, so they can come up and you can ask them directly, because I am just a community marketing person. So if you have a super technical question, probably not going to be able to answer it. I'll try my best and I'll ask the team. But yeah, so Scoozy, I do appreciate that question though. Is there shops or other interactable elements set to go live in early access in the town? It feels flat in its current state. Basically putting up studs. What's the material? Yeah, so I'll start with the first question, Scoozy. You're fully right. So we made the village, and this came out in Alpha Release 3. We labeled it the village, and it's essentially the multiplayer like hub. But right now it's not. Being perfectly honest, it's not the multiplayer hub we envisioned for Moonfrost. So what we're doing is, I don't want to spoil it yet, but how the progression works, and I said about understanding who you are in the world of Moonfrost, that's going to be tied into the village. And that's the direction we're going down. So if you go to the shop, you go to the village, things will change as the story progresses. New things open up in the village, new interactables, new shops, new NPCs. You learn more about who you are in the world of Moonfrost. And you also will hopefully, I don't want to say too much, especially because my boss is watching, but you'll see the visual progression in the game of what you're doing, which is very, very positive in the world of Moonfrost. That's all I can say right now. But hopefully in 2 weeks I can tell you more. So I'll get back to the team of how much we can say. But you are fully right. With early access and with the town at the moment, it almost feels like a little bit abandoned or quiet. So we are looking at kind of making that social player hub a social player hub with a lot of interaction and making it a lot more lively. So right now, your homestead map will be single player like normal. The multiplayer map will be in the village, and we're looking at other multiplayer experiences and maps as well. Awesome. Will we have lands in the future? Garbage can. Great question. You almost have your own homestead right now, but we are looking at ways to like implement that into the design. We do have an option to do land. It's a potential, but it's not something we're going to be. It's not 100% going to be in early access. So we're leaving the door open and it's fitted into the design, but it probably won't be ready for early access yet. It could be, but I need to get confirmation from the team essentially. Craft coin will be reset. Is there any point in accumulating? Correct. Craft coin will be completely reset. The only two things from Alpha Release 5, if you're playing and lucky enough to play now in the closed alpha, is your shards and the frost. The shards and the fishing gnome. Everything else will be reset. All of your blueprints, all of your progression. Please take screenshots. I really enjoy seeing them. Your craft coin, your seal, everything will be reset. That's just kind of how we have to do it. I don't like doing it, and not even does the team, but you will lose all of your resources outside of your shards and the fishing gnome. So feel free to spend them, create beautiful homesteads, and just enjoy the game essentially in its kind of Alpha Release 5. We will be adding fishing. That's one of the things I want to say, but you won't need coin or a large amount of that for that. Cool. There is no Chinese and no subtitles, and it can only support idle play. Sorry, I can't pronounce your name, and there isn't any Chinese subtitles right now. No, I fully understand that. It's something we'll look into is kind of inclusivity of other people that don't primarily speak English. As a small indie game dev team, there's only so much things we can do whilst in this kind of state of release. But I will talk to the team about like translation and localization of the game and try and provide an update for you. And moving forward from these streams, I'll look into some software, or if you're a streamer, please let me know in Discord, and maybe you can help with different translation subtitles for live streams like this, so we can be more inclusive. Sleepy Frank or Sleepy Frake. Pixels has lands. Yep. Pixels has lands too. Scoozy, the whole thing is lands. Just want to sell something. What it would be in Moonfrost, it wouldn't just be selling something. I get from a Web3 standpoint, lands seems awesome, but it wouldn't just be selling land. With the design we've got, which may include it, I can't go too far into this, but essentially it's a lot more than just selling something, which I don't want to cook too much on. But yeah, it's something we're definitely considering. Hey, Double D, Jace, what's cooking? Just arrived. Yeah, cool. So a high-level overview is cooking. We're looking at implementing cooking into early access, and it's going to be highly discoverability feature. So if you get a blueberry and a fish, or a certain type of fish and some sweet corn, you might not know what that will make when it comes to like a recipe. So you're going to have to try and find the recipes yourself. And when you open the cooking book, it's all in Discord, by the way, in the work in progress channel. So if you want a deep dive, have a read in there. But essentially, when you look in the cooking book, you can do certain things with certain ingredients. So maybe you want to steam your corn, or crush the corn, or roast the corn. And each of those types of corn may lead to different recipes. Sometimes I think in the game design, like not every single thing will equal a new recipe. So sometimes you're going to make like a bowl of like, I don't know what you want to call it, a bowl of something, a weird looking soup, which gets you no benefit. But some may give you buffs in the game. And I believe that's the current design for early access, but I can't 100% say sure until I've chatted to the team. Frosts. So Sabuka, frosts, yes. So can you ask a bit more direct what you mean by frosts so I can cover it? But Moonfrost and yes, frost. Vlad, I want as many people as possible to hear about this. Will you be releasing it only on Epic Game Store or is other popular platforms like Steam? So right now we're going to be releasing on Epic. There's two main reasons for that. One is Epic support. So being a game which was a closed alpha was a lot better to get like codes or keys, so we could get more people into the playtests and releases to kind of learn about that. When it comes to launching on other platforms, be it Steam or other launchers, so can't remember off the top of my head, like Hyperplay being one of them, the more we do, the more we have to support, which then takes away from game development and customer support. So I fully agree with you. We want as many people in this game as possible. We almost want to phase early access, more gameplay features, more players coming in, more stress tests on server, so we can get to that kind of multiplayer level where we want to be for the game, because the social interactions are going to be absolutely awesome. But yeah. Everyone's contemplating about lands and apartments now. I can definitely dive into that. Double D, when blockchain reveal? We're looking at putting together. Not looking; it's happening. We will be doing like a white paper and map, which will give you all. I can't say all. That's a really bad word to say. It'll give you a lot more insight into what we're building in Moonfrost and a timeline around that, including gameplay and game features, also Web3 integration, and that will give you all the information. Essentially, you'll need at a high level to kind of inform us all as players and community members, like what is this in Moonfrost? Because that's one of the things we do want to showcase to you, but we don't want to release it too early to then potentially have to change something if the game feature isn't implemented already. So that's why we haven't released the white paper or an updated roadmap, is because when we say something, we want to deliver on that promise and not have to backtrack. But it is being developed and it is being worked on. And when it is ready, I will then obviously probably announce on a live stream, and we might even throw it up a couple of days before a live stream, and then I can talk through it. So you can ask like as much questions as you want. And I'll probably get Rick on that as well, or Aaron, the designer, to help with that one. Yenva, can we interact with other players? Right now, yes. So we have Farm Royale, which is kind of our PvP mode, and you've also got House Hunters, which is kind of passive player experience. You're kind of voting and seeing other people's homesteads. If you want to go and chat with people, you can run to the village, and there's a very, very basic early version of like chat and experience of players. But we will be looking at building out those features. We have gone over, but I've got 10 minutes, so we can go a little bit over if we have more questions. But I really appreciate everyone. And sorry, I should probably next time learn my lesson. I'll probably pre-record some gameplay so I can talk to you whilst actually going through. Cool. Yeah, so thanks, Scoozy. You helped answer that question. Frost Hunter license is a must important NFT in all projects, or will there be other more important? So no, so the Frost Hunter license is essentially our first and our top tier kind of NFT within Moonfrost. There will be other types of NFTs. There's information on this on the website, so please go on to the Moonfrost website, have a look at the FAQ, and it can update you all about this. But the Frost Hunter license will be the top version or top tier of NFT. Voice chat would be sick. Voice chat would be sick, Scoozy, but voice chat may cause some problems with kind of safeguarding users. But I'll ask the team if that's possible. Courtney, it's corn. I'm not. Yeah, so there is a meme about corn. If that came back, I think it'd be really, really cool for Moonfrost, personally. But no, I don't want that one. Let's build a real quick home. And I'll keep answering questions. So, Alec, when Moonfrost coming to Android devices? So, right now, being fully transparent with you, we're focusing on PC first. And the reason for that is, as I've said before, we are a small game dev team. So, we have to be really, really cautious with kind of where we allocate developer time towards. And before releasing onto mobile, which Moonfrost will be going on mobile, like that's our intention with it all. We need to make sure the PC and the Mac version is stable, the gameplay features are made before kind of developing it onto mobile. So I can't give you a timeline on that yet. But yes, so in other words, I can't actually say when will mobile be ready. First, we need to focus on PC and getting that core loop down first. But it will come. It's just a matter of time. Yeah, let's have a war here. Any other questions? Karaoke, sorry. Do you think the voting system in House Hunters was fair? Really good question. So with any gameplay feature which we introduce into Moonfrost, it's always like trial and error. Being fully honest, that's what game development is like sometimes. Sorry, let me just think where I'm going to put this door. So one of the things was, I wouldn't say, do you think it was fair? I would say more, do you think the way we structured the event was fair towards the players? So the first week of House Hunters, we were very, very specific with like, you need to create a certain room, a certain theme. And the entries we got were essentially all around that. And the voting was centered around those themes. What we did last week was very, very open. We essentially said, be as creative as you want via Homestead of the Day and Homestead of the Week, and players then vote. So I would say the voting is fair because people are voting for what they believe is correct to that theme. But I also believe what we can do as developers is give you some more steering and guidance. So there was some really awesome, highly creative designs, but because it was left open to Homestead of the Week, some players may not like them. And what we've discussed internally was almost if players are voting for something, we don't want to be able to change how players are voting, but we also are tracking how players are voting. So if certain players are voting for certain people, in the game, you don't get told who made what. So we are tracking to see, like, okay, if they're voting the same people every single time, it's kind of indicating there may be some foul play going on. So we are improving the way, kind of how we will be addressing house hunters in a sense of how we can improve and make sure the gameplay experience is fair. And one of those is on us for kind of giving you the tools to create. So maybe we need to be more specific of what you'll be there towards players that really want to be creative. But the reason why we didn't do that from the off was like we didn't want to go like say build this theme, because if you're quite early in the game, you don't really have a lot of things unlocked. So we wanted to be kind of open and say use your creativity. But yeah, hopefully that answers. So was it fair? The idea of the system is meant to be fair as possible. That's the whole point of being creative focused. Do we believe some people were like teaming? I believe so, and so does the team. But we're looking into those things to see how people vote, and their voting habits. In other words, we can get rid of that when there's more substantial rewards and unlocks into the game. So, like we said, like everything at the moment is wiped apart from shards and the fishing gnome. So hopefully that helps. Awesome. Right, Jiri, I'm going to say you're the last question, and then I will need to shoot. But I really appreciate everyone. Like, I think we've got over like 700 people watching this, which is absolutely awesome. It's an hour of your time. I will provide a brief summary, and I'll also put this up on YouTube. But last question, Jiri. So, is there any plans for global chat so we can chat with other players while we're at the homestead? Great question. We are looking at more multiplayer features. So this won't be in early access day one, but we will be looking at doing like a version of global chat or a version of friend chat, friends list, and things like that. So we can kind of you can speak to your pals essentially if you're in your homestead, or if you're in a different world. Maybe you're in Farm Royale, maybe you're in a different new game mode or in a different new map, which may or may not be coming, which I probably should have said that. So yeah, so that's one of those. That was the last question. We're now getting a few more questions in, so I really, really appreciate it. But I'll just finish. Garbage Can, thank you very much. The mustache is making a comeback. We'll see what happens. Poo Pok Dao, will the token be released this spring, at least after early access? I can't tell you that right now, being fully honest. If you know about TGEs, actually selecting a date is actually really, really hard, and it's most of the time isn't due to the team. So I can't tell you if it's going to be released in spring. What I can tell you is we're aiming to release this year, and I can give you a clearer indication once we've got the white paper out and we've got all the resources out to make you fully aware of the situation. Yeah. Double D, we need global chat from the farm and chat emojis. Yeah, I know. I'm gonna be pushing multiplayer once we're in the early access and we've got it live. So I'm gonna leave it there. Please give us some feedback on fishing, which one you preferred, option 1 or option 2. Throw it into Discord if you want. Tell me on Twitter. I'm more than happy to have a chat with anybody in the community or watching this stream. If this is the first time you've seen Moonfrost, well, welcome. This is very, very open way of developing. We're currently in closed alpha, but we're releasing it early access in spring. If you love this type of game, we can get you access. So please reach out to us. And I'm going to say that's it for now. Just to cover 2 different fishing mechanics we showcased you, told you about progression, different tools, loot drops, what that means for resources of that resource type, and also the new stuff coming in. Cooking, one of the new gameplay features we're discussing, and then also some massive quality of life improvements to crafting 2.0, collection album, what it means to be a frost hunter. I am super excited to share with you what we've got planned for this year, and I cannot wait to get you all into early access. So from myself and the rest of the Moonfrost team, thank you for building with us, and I will see you all in 2 weeks. Bye.